Hello guys and welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be doing a new series. What if a blank country forms an empire? Today I'm going to be discussing Italy, as you can obviously tell by the title, and I'm doing this in a new format. If anybody watched Ada's Pro, I'm doing it in his format. Basically I'm going to be recording it in paint.net and then, edit it with and then have my commentary. If you like this style, let me know. If you don't, also let me know. So let's just get started. First off, Italy's just going to declare war on Slovenia. They won't have much trouble going through and taking Slovenia. I mean, it's not that hard to do. I will also note that there's no NATO, no EU, or any UN in this scenario. None of that exists. And with that, Italy has grown. Now who will Italy go after next? Italy has two pretty good options. Either, they go after Croatia or Tunisia. Personally, they already have decent access over here, but they could really cut them off over here if they went and took Tunisia, because then they could control all that. Sure, they would need to still go over here and control the Suez Canal, but it's a start. And Tunisia's pretty weak. So that's what we're going to have happen. Italy's going to declare war on Tunisia. They're going to make a naval landing. And Tunisia wouldn't last that long because, well, they're Tunisia. Now, I will say, the Italian military, I never knew it was as strong as it is. But of course, in this scenario, we're going to be making their military much stronger, just so that they can go and take these countries. Tunisia won't last for that long as they get stripped of all their coastal territory right now. So basically they're just left to, be really thirsty and they can't deal with that. So eventually they're just going to fall. Now we have a really big Italy. But Italy wants to be even bigger. Not so surprisingly. So now, who are they going to bully next? I'd say Croatia. Again, Croatia couldn't resist this. They can't do anything about this. So the Italian troops would just come in and, do what they want. I know some Balkan powers will be happy, some Balkan powers will be not so happy. That's the trouble that Italy's going to cause. You never know what's going to happen here. But ultimately, Croatia is no match. And now we have super big Italy. But now countries are starting to realize that Italy is kind of being a meanie. They're not being nice to everybody. So they're kind of bonding together. For example, these European countries, maybe not Switzerland, but these European countries, they want to band together. They don't want Italy to do much expansion. So they're going to all form an alliance. Which is bad news for Italy, as they're not strong enough to take on all of them, even with the boost for the video. They couldn't take on all of that. So they're going to have to redirect to Africa. Who better to go after than Libya? So that's who they're going to invade next. Now, we'll say after these wars, they do have some time to rest their troops. I mean, that should be obvious. So now, on the coast of Libya, we'll have, some invasion there. Also some invasion straight from Tunisia. I mean, the Italian force will be really big here, I'd suspect. As Libya used to be a colony of the Italians. So they'd probably have more experience with fending them off. But ultimately, they would, again, an African nation would be stripped of their coast. Yeah, there's nothing much they can do about this. As the Italians can just, just bully them. They'll still take chunks of land until the Libyan government surrenders, which I consider to not be that easy. If they're determined enough, they won't surrender that easily. So with this Libyan government being like, could someone help us out? I feel like we could have Algeria joining the war, as well as Egypt. Now Italy is starting to get into some trouble, because how would they fend off 3 African nations? Egypt's decently strong. Algeria's decently strong. Libya's not that decently strong. The Italian troops push a tiny bit more into Libya, and then they're like, oh, this has happened. So the Algerian troops are going to go into Tunisia, and they're going to be like pushed back quite a little bit from the initial shock of this war. Egypt will also gain some land, and now they're going to have to kind of redirect this. They know that they couldn't win this for a long term. They want to make this easy, so they're going to actually call in Morocco. I'm not sure if Morocco should be controlling this in this scenario, so I'm just going to leave it as Western Sahara. With Morocco's entry, they just go over here, because again, this would be a huge shock. Well, I guess not much to Algeria. So I think they'd be better at defending themselves against a Moroccan invasion, considering that these two countries aren't that best on relations. Still, the Italians would be able to push them back, and that would begin their invasion of Algeria as well. They'd eventually be stripped of their coast as well. But hope is not all lost, as over here in Egypt will help push them back. So now Italy is in a predicament. Sure, they're doing good on one front, but on the other they're kind of like losing a lot of ground. So they're going to make a deal. If Egypt leaves the war, they won't take any land from them. They tried to make that deal at least because they want an easy way out, but Egypt's like, nah man, we want to defend Libya for some reason. So the Egyptians are still going to push them back, but now Italy and Morocco are going to do what they want to do, which is a blitz. They're going to take all the good land from Algeria, which is they're eventually going to be like, fine, we know how this is going to go down, and they're going to surrender. And now onto Libya. They're going to push the Egyptians back and get the coastal territory of Libya back. And now they're going to try to set up a front line for Egypt. Of course, Libya's going to surrender. And now Egypt's like, this is getting kind of risky. So now we have a little bit of a push in. But I'm pretty sure they probably already wasted most of their troops. So I expect the Italians to just go in and take the Suez Canal. That will, of course, be a bunch of international backlash. They cannot annex that. It's going to be the thing that's going to happen here. But eventually, Egypt just finds it more reasonable to try to get a peace deal. What will that peace deal be? We got to take a look at that. For Italy, they will gain all of Somalia. Or not Somalia. They gained all of Libya. Why did I say Somalia? I must be on something right now. And they will get a decent chunk over here of Algeria. Size brushes it. They'll get a chunk of Algeria as well. And Morocco also gets a slice. Not too much though, as France would declare war if they took too much. And then they'd have to go against the entire league. So they're not going to take as much as they want. If they could, they would split all of Algeria if they wanted to. Maybe leave a puppet state. And now this is what the map looks like. A weaker Algeria, but Egypt got out of this pretty decent. But now we're going to have the Italians trying to offer some better diplomatic stuff with the French. They're going to try to get on better terms, but they're going to offer them a whole chunk of money to annex Corsica. All the French let them annex Corsica, I guess for a huge chunk of money maybe, but I don't see that as possible. So Italy needs to look at a next person to invade. They already did Egypt. Algeria could wait if they wanted to do round 2. So instead of going after Bosnia, which they can't do, I guess they'll do the next best thing. Really? They're going to do a war with... They're going to do a whole Balkan War over here. So they're going to declare war on 2 Balkan countries. This may go well, as they're not too strong. So the Italian troops will push in. But Albania has a lot of bunkers, so I'd say they could fend off decently. This Montenegro cannot. The Italian troops will then eventually be able to push in. And yeah, even though they have a lot of bunkers, they aren't immortal. So they will definitely lose a long-term war with the Italians. Easy peace deal. They just straight up annex. Don't know what you're expecting. But now we have a pretty big Italian empire. Is this a bit excessive? Maybe. But now they want to try something. They want to take on the whole alliance here. So that's just what they'll be doing. They'll try to take on everybody at once with the help of Morocco. That being Algeria, France, Germany, Austria, Hungary, Serbia, Bosnia. Most likely Kosovo on the Italian side, I'd say. But definitely North Macedonia. would go on the other side. So would Greece. This is a huge war, and we're gonna see how it plays out. First in Africa, as it's the most easiest. Yeah, they just capture all that land, and Algeria surrenders. There's not much they can do. They take Corsica, and they're faced with a challenge here. They can go easily take Bosnia, but with France, they have also Austria. They have a bit of a trouble. There's mountains here, but eventually they'll push through and get into France. Monaco is also there, and they will fall. And the Italians are managing to push into France, but France isn't that weak, so they'll be able to push them back a little bit. Now they're just fortified over here. Not much they can do. But over in the Balkan front, they'll just connect up their colonies and take all of Bosnia. They'll also push into Serbia with a tiny bit of help from Kosovo and into North Macedonia and a little bit of Greece. But now they're trying to push their luck because we have a united group pushing in. Their goal is to try to cut off Italy from Italy, but there would be a lot of citizens, so I feel like they would get pushed back to the border. Now Italy needs to redirect troops, but again there's mountains. Mountains are troublesome, so they're gonna have to think of another thing. They'll eventually run out of troops, so they need to do a blitz fast. They'd take North Macedonia, and now they'd try at Greece. Historically they aren't good at taking Greece down. I know about that, but this is a scenario, okay? So maybe they'd have a bit of a better time at taking down Greece. Of course they'd take all these islands too, and Greece would fall. Back up to Serbia, they would definitely be able to do that. Although it would cost them a lot of soldiers. So now they just want to, strike a deal with the alliance. The alliance will deny that. So now the Italians have to wait and build up troops, and then eventually be able to push through war into France. Switzerland's looking like a hot spot. Allied troops could go through, or the Italian troops could go through. But Switzerland, of course, is Switzerland and will stay neutral. Spain lets Italy store some troops, and they put them into the mountains here. Now they're just really invested in these mountains. Speaking of mountains, over here, they managed to take over large portions of Austria. Not all of it, though. Austria could still hold on, and Hungary will get pushed into a little bit further to eventually be able to connect the fronts up, and now France would be unalloyed. Sure, I don't think Italy could fully take on France, but the French people kind of like to rebel, so I'll play off of that. And a rebellion happens, and they connect up, and France is like, oh, really? So, yeah, they could go on forever, and since they're French, they decide to surrender. Over here in Austria, that happens, and Hungary would also fall soon after. Now it's just Germany. They don't have much of a military, so they surrender as well. Let's take a look at this giant peace treaty, shall we? Over here in the Balkans, we will have Italy annexing Bosnia only. I know that's a bit surprising, but they don't want to stir up too much trouble, so they just decide to stick it with this. Also, it will be easier to control, but we'll get to Austria in a minute. They'll obviously take Corsica from France, and, well, they'll be able to take the mountains here. A weaker France is always happier for me. Down in Africa, Algeria will just lose a whole chunk of land. Like, they're gonna get split up into the land that's actually valuable, that is. They don't want desert that much. I know that's a huge shocker for some. People just don't like living in the desert, especially Moroccans and Italians. But now, what will happen with the rest? We'll have 2 Italian puppet seats set up, one in Algeria and one in Austria. This will be the Italian Empire at their height, so that will be about the end of this video. If you liked it, make sure to let me know. If you didn't like it, also let me know, and I'm done.